This is a Hoover Windtunnel Bagless canister. I got this a few weeks ago from a vacuum collector friend of mine. It is a very interesting machine. I have seen a few of these around over the years, but this is my first time actually owning one. As far as I know, when it comes to the history behind this machine, this vacuum was, from what I've been told, made by LG, at least the canister and hose portion. And for this model, they were still using the old wind tunnel power head design. And overall, it's actually a very nice canister. It's got a decent amount of power when the filter is not dirty. And it's got that wind tunnel power head, which is an awesome power nozzle for carpet. And what kind of gives this machine away for not being really a true Hoover is you just look at those attachments. It's got this little itty bitty crevice tool right here, and this little itty bitty upholstery brush here, and those store right on board in the teeny little compartment. It's got this stick-on label that says power display, and basically this vacuum has a variable speed motor, and this little sticky thing, I guess, is supposed to reflect at which stage of power you are at when you're using the machine. This is your post-motor HEPA filter right here, which comes out and it's washable. It's pretty thin material. Like this was kind of made at a time where you could still kind of get away with calling it a HEPA filter when it really was more like a HEPA media filter. It's interesting that it's got that there, and then it's got this blank space, but they tried to mimic the design on the other side of the machine for styling purposes. It's got a nice carrying handle right here. Has a decent amount of weight to it, the canister does. And in here is the bagless dust cup. You can see the filter has been really well cleaned. It's got a pleated type filter. So this is kind of a old time design by today's standards as far as bagless goes, where you don't have a cyclone, instead you have a pleated filter where the dust spins around. Now this is, I think, where it gets more interesting. So it's got like this almost like extra space here for dirt to collect, and it's almost like it almost acts as almost like a cyclone, but not really. I guess this is kind of where the fine dust goes to separate. It's kind of interesting because it looks like that feature is there to try to direct air that way to keep dirt from going on the filter. This is like a dirt arrestor like design, where it looks like it's supposed to catch most of the dirt and fine material that you're vacuuming up, so that it doesn't so you can try to keep it off the filter. When I saw one of these, not this model, but I saw another one of these at a thrift store a couple months ago, and I opened it up and I saw that, and I thought that looked familiar, and it took me a minute, but eventually I figured out that this is basically, from what I can see, a copy of the Phantom dirt arrestor design, which Phantom used on their later bagless models, the Wildcat and the two Crosswind models, before those were discontinued. And I really wonder now if LG actually either bought or just copied that design from the later Phantom models, because it basically operates the exact same way. We have this flap that opens on the side, and dirt is supposed to collect underneath it, so it's almost exactly like a Phantom dirt arrestor. So I think that's very interesting. And then the top just goes right back in there, and you can see that this is where the dirt enters, and then it appears like it just filters through the main filter out the top, and right into the motor housing from what it looks like. Or I should say it goes up here and then I guess is vented into the canister that way, I guess. Pretty small dust capacity, I can imagine that. If you had pets, it probably would fill up pretty quickly and maybe even clog. But I have seen these with very low suction in the hose, but this one has really good suction, so I guess when properly working, they have pretty decent power. So we'll plug it in now so that you can hear how it works. It's got the cord reel on the bottom here. Let's see. These were not a cheap vacuum new. When these first came out, I think they were about $400. I'm pretty sure they came originally with a floor tool as well, but this one does not have that accessory with it. Pretty sure one of the ones I've seen at a thrift store did. I've actually encountered 3 of these in the last year. This one, and then I saw 2 at a thrift store last year. So interesting that they're still calling it Healthy Gain Investments Hoover. So this was made in China in 2009, September 2009. So I guess this was kind of still when Hoover was pretty new to be TTI owned. They were bought by TTI around 2006. So this is not too far out of when that happened. But another thing that my friend alerted me to when he gave this machine to me is that it's got kind of a funky control setup where it's not very intuitive. You kind of have to just keep pressing the button until you have full power on it. So let's get that started. So a few things to note, some observations about this machine. First of all, the canister is relatively loud, but the power nozzle is actually really, really quiet for Hoover power nozzle. I forgot how quiet this power nozzle is, and it's interesting because I always thought that this was basically one of the last versions of the old wind tunnel power nozzle, but perhaps they must have made some revisions because that's its older relative over there, the bagged wind tunnel canister, and this is just so much quieter. It does have a different neck design. This does have a quick release mechanism on it, so it's definitely quick release, but not so easily done with one hand, so it does have that feature, which is nice. And it has an extendable wand as well. Looks like there we go. And then it has an extension wand here with this stretchable cord, which is a nice feature. So all in all, it is a nice canister for a bagless canister. I would assume that a lot of them probably lost power because of it having that pleated filter, but overall it's a pretty nice design. I'm actually really impressed with this power head. It's very quiet, as I said, for a Hoover power head. So anyway, trying to think, I think the only other thing to mention about this machine is that the mechanism that holds it upright for the power nozzle is broken, but I mean, for a 13-year-old canister, you can't really expect much else. Anyway, that is the Bagless wind tunnel canister. I hope you enjoyed the video.